everyone. My name is Judy Alter, and I'm known as the Optimistic BA. I am also a volunteer for IIBA Global. I lead the Global Chapter Council team, but I always like to be very clear about who I'm representing, and today I'm representing myself. I've been to a couple of Minnesota PDDs. It's one of my favorite events, and I hope to see a lot of you in person soon. Actually, as I was looking at the participants, I recognized a couple of the people that I have met through the years, but you don't want to hear about me. So let's go and talk about the BA on an Agile team. Now, the optimistic BA is certainly it epitomizes Judy Alter. And I don't say that as being arrogant, but that's just how I am. I am probably optimistic, I would say 97% of the time. And when I started my business, I came up with the moniker of business analysis with a glass half full mindset. And honestly, that's just probably how I am and how I just look at life and embody the attitude. You know, you only have one life and you may as well have fun. It's a lot less effort than being all upset all the time. And so this is the case for business analysts on Agile teams. And sometimes people have a totally different view. So it always is interesting to see where this leads. Agile, as you know, all started with the manifesto. I am not going to make this a presentation about the history of it, but as you notice, there's the word software development in the manifesto. Few facts: it was created in February 2001 by 17 people, and they were at a ski resort in the Utah mountains for 3 days. I don't know about all of you, but I would not have been worried about creating the Agile manifesto, but maybe that's just me. And as we know, what resulted out of it was the Agile manifesto. Now, I spoke at a conference for the Brussels chapter just recently, and there was a gentleman from there who had just came from like a new addition to the manifesto. And I'm not exactly sure where that is leading, but it sounded very interesting. Now, as most of you know, the manifesto was developed regarding software development. The purpose was to agree on a process that was an alternative to documentation-heavy software development. Now, any of you who were around, Waterfall had so much documentation. I remember doing 60 to 80 pages of requirements documents that I know that no one read, because I would hide little crumbs in there that had they been reading it, they would have called me out on it. But it just was amazing. And so my opinion personally is that I think it really was directed at Waterfall. And I don't mean to offend anyone if you are still working at a company that does Waterfall, but I think I was born for Agile because I kind of loved creating like maybe a 2-page document or just a screen print for my requirements. Now, the fathers of the manifesto, they were all about the people, and they were considered mushy. Now, I am all about the soft skills. I can do the hard skills. I can talk about them. I consider myself an Agilist. I did it the last 9 years of my corporate career and have continued in my business. So, but it is thought that really this is what solidified Agile as a methodology. Now, we know 21 years later that people still argue methodology versus framework. We also know there are several flavors of Agile all around the world. I don't think I've ever met someone from a company that is handling Agile in a pure form. Sometimes it's due to culture or other things, and they're doing some modified form of Agile or whatever methodology framework they are using. It really doesn't matter what term is being used. a team needs someone dedicated to performing business analysis. And so I kind of like the fact they called the founders mushy, because people are a big part of projects. And just let me begin to explain my position about that. Now, why should Agile teams have dedicated business analysts? And really, it's a myth that business analysis is not needed, because someone needs to be doing business analysis. Now, I think part of this was tied to business analysts not being mentioned in the Agile manifesto. And of course, that's my idea of a perfect business analyst, is someone who is kind of like a police detective. Now, I want to address this first because I need to clarify my position that a dedicated business analyst is needed on an Agile team. While I feel they should have the BA title, that is not as important as long as there is a position dedicated to business analysis. Now, there might be more than one BA on a team, and that works well also. The combination of BA and product owner together, I don't feel works very well. In my experience, the product owners had too many other things to support. And sometimes most of the product owners I worked with had a manager job like in another department. Normally it was the department that the team they were supporting actually was assigned to their area, and that worked very well. But there was just too many other things for them to be focused on business analysis. And I would say that probably 95% of the policy owners in our organization were not former BAs. And some BAs did become product owners, but it seemed like they just couldn't shake being a BA. I know one of my friends from early in my business analysis days used to say, I don't care what you call me, but I'm always going to be a card carrying BA. And there's a lot to be said for that. And so it seemed like a lot of them had to return to being a BA because they just didn't get the product owner work. And I do have to give full disclosure. In my company as a BA, we also did the testing. We were involved in the installation. And so I understand that the role was a lot different than other companies. So it wasn't, unusual. Our name stayed the same. And there was probably usually about 4 BAs on a team. And we had more than enough work to keep us busy. So it maybe wasn't the ideal Agile form, but we really did do a lot of other things the way that the manifesto stated. And so most of the product owners, as I said, they were not previous BAs, and a lot of them didn't have project experience. And luckily, they were more than happy to admit that and relied on us to probably do a little bit of the product owner work because they just didn't have the skills to do it. Now, I'm going to go over the difference between a business analyst and the product owner. Now, a business analyst is a combination of what and how. And product owner, well, they're a combination of why and high level what. And so in this presentation, if you hear me refer to PO, then I'm talking about the product owner. And if I say BA, I'm talking about the business analyst. I like to clarify that. I know insurance companies are all about acronyms, and I haven't quite shed that trait. And I want to start by highlighting the differences in the roles, because that is where I am really coming from with my position. And many times the product owner is only part-time on the team. And as I said, I worked in a company where they came from the domain supported by the team. And that was good because we had an in when we needed some help with maybe someone who wasn't being cooperative and giving us some information that we needed. And so they were good at helping to get it in the time fashion that we needed. And also, you know, they have so many meetings to attend. I don't know how they could do a BA work unless they worked about 12, 14 hours every day. And so that's why the dedicated BA is much better suited to the work, you know, especially on the what and the how. And I am just very thankful that I worked with product owners that were like that. And then, you know, they didn't try to pretend or play BA, because that would have been very, very detrimental to the team. And I do feel that in the next few years, and I don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years or 2 years, but I do think that maybe the titles will change for a business analyst, and maybe in some areas, the business analyst will disappear as a title, but business analysis has a very bright, huge future, I think. So anyone wanting to think about becoming business analyst, it's probably a good time. Now, the 3 top reasons a business analyst is needed on an Agile team. The business analyst is an expert at conducting the elicitation of requirements sessions. And a lot of times the business analyst may serve as the domain expert and can secure answers to the developer's questions early on. And I think that the BA has leadership skills that are invaluable to a team. Okay, so let's look at each of these points in detail. Okay. As I said before, the business analyst is an expert at conducting the elicitation of requirement sessions. Now, they have to be experts in soft skills, communication. Their communication needs to be concise, clear, and complete. Now, 85% of what a BA does is the soft skills. You can't work on any project without talking to people. You just don't go out and start a project, figure out the requirements, do your own development and installation. That just doesn't happen. And what a BA needs to do is know how to gain the trust and confidence of the people that they elicit requirements from. Now, they have developed those relationships with the people they support by getting to know them as a person. And when that happens, a person has trust and confidence in the BA, and they will go above and beyond for them. Now, what is ideal is if an organization has stable teams that support a certain departments or a product line. And once that relationship has been developed, the BA isn't starting from scratch every time they need to begin an elicitation session for a new project. Now, they are very skilled sometimes at handling many different areas of a company. And so I think that they have very good skills to develop a relationship quickly. And if you can just be yourself and develop a relationship with the key person that you're working with for the project, that is so important, because treating them as a person, and you don't have to like make them your BFF for life or go to lunch with them or whatever every day. But if they feel that you really value them as a person and things like that, and you don't want to be phony, you need to be, very authentic and truthful. But the best advice that I gave new BAs that I mentored was to be themselves and get to know their stakeholders or customers as a person. And especially if they supported the same department all the time. I worked with the same area for actually several decades in different aspects and departments, but I think that really helped to make things a lot easier at times. Now, sometimes it's like a family, and when something goes wrong, they get a little upset, but usually there's more forgiveness there if you have the relationship. And what I also always said, and I actually say it about everything, is when you're talking to a stakeholder, treat them as if they are the only person in the world at that moment. You would be surprised what that additional little touch helps. Now, you can still have a professional relationship with them, but I really think that that really helps. It will help them to help you help them. And I know that sounds a little funky, but you all know about, and this is not what my presentation is about, but how many times you've started a project with somebody and they show up and they say, well, here's our problem and we have the solution, and so let's do it. And you have to kind of steer them back to, let's kind of talk about this. And many times their solution is some brand new, shiny technical object. And sometimes that is the solution. But many times you find out that wasn't their problem at all. And even further, a lot of times it's solved by a process, or there's a setting on a machine that's wrong. And so you have to be able to have that relationship to steer them beyond. And if you don't, then you won't have success. And treating everyone as if they're the only person in the world, I really credit to a couple of my close BA friends. And I don't even know if they realize how much this has helped me. And they're very drastically different people, but they handle this in different ways. Now, BAs must not only be good connectors, but they also need to learn how to communicate. Now, if you just Google communications, you will find the 20 C's of communication, the 18 C's, the 10 C's, the 12 C's, the 8 C's, the 7 C's, on and on and on and on. And I do teach a class that does deal with the soft skills, and a part of it focuses on communication. And so I picked out what I think really makes it very basic and very easy. It's concise, clear, and complete. Now, I know there are many different formulas. People will say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. But one thing, I think you need to use as few words as are needed to clearly get your point across. If you have too many words, then you're going to lose interest. I know I'm very guilty if the email is way too long, or somebody's just going around in a circle. I think they like to hear themselves talk. I lose interest. I hear the old sound, and if you're old enough, you will know exactly what this is, the whack, whack, whack. Immediately, you go back to Peanuts and Charlie Brown's teacher. But you don't want to just use fewer words just to use fewer words. I worked with a new person several years ago that she had the idea that to try to improve her production, that she would eliminate the vowels in the words. And she's like, does this make sense? And I was like, no, I don't think I would do that. That goes to show you how you take it to the wrong extreme. But you need to make sure that people know what is expected of them and when it needs to be completed. Now, there's more than just written communication. There's also verbal. And, sometimes you focus too much on written communication and don't remember about the verbal communication. And they're equally important. But I also feel a BA should always continue to refine their communication skills. And honestly, I've even learned a few things, especially the last few years. I think that one of the things that is the foundation of communication is listening. But you should listen to understand, not to respond. And if you do that, then people are going to much more be receptive of your questions or your analysis and maybe your constructive criticism of their ideas. Sometimes you're listening to someone give a presentation at work, and they might mention 10 things they want to do, and you think all of the ideas are just crap, okay? I'll be very blunt and to the point. What you need to do is find at least something good to say about maybe one or two of the ideas, and then very carefully give them the criticism as to, in a way such as, that's good, but maybe we should try this, or what if we did this, or what if we did that? I think you get much better buy-in, and they will listen to your ideas. And I'm not talking about the person who is having extreme trouble with performing their job and they're always off base, but just maybe people that need a little bit of education. And I think they respond to that much better than just saying, oh, well, A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. And, but another thing that you can do is when they let them finish speaking first. That's the key rule. But then once they've done that, you might ask them a question just to clarify something. That way, then you are making sure that you understood their information as they intended it to. I know the other day, and I'm using an IIBA example, but someone had sent us a documentation about some financial information. And the way they had put it, they had just listed it together and they didn't sum it up. And so I was like, I thought somehow $5,000 had went missing. Well, they just didn't sum it up. And somebody else pointed out the way the document looked. So my reply would have been a lot different to them had, it been true, but it was just a matter of how they looked. And so as you can see, that's why communication needs to be so very clear and make sure that, the people know what you're saying. And they'll be a lot happier if you go with concise, because nobody wants to read 200 words unnecessarily when the same could be said in 100 words. And we all know the people who just really like to help themselves, to hear themselves talk. And sometimes they're just not very good at that. So you kind of have to work around all of those people. And as far as the elicitation of requirement sessions, I remember one of the last projects I worked on, and there were several pieces. It was a new product. And quite honestly, I don't feel that we should have been doing new product projects from Agile, because you can't really just, okay, we can bill a client. Well, you don't even have a product. It just isn't, it doesn't lend to that self of installing little pieces throughout. You're kind of still, in a way, doing a bit of waterfall backwards. You pick a date, and when you're installing a new product, you do not miss a date. So, it just, I don't know. But I was on one section of the project, and I had a little bit of a lull for a couple, 3 days. And they said they're having a problem with the printing of the policies. And I said, okay, and I'll go ahead and look. I had, for most of my life as a BA, I helped on installing new products. And so I was an expert on the system and stuff. And they said, well, this new policy, we just cannot print more than 25 a day. And they knew by experience that this was going to be a big selling project. And honestly, it has been, which as a BA, sometimes you worked on a project for months, especially if it was waterfall, and all of a sudden it doesn't sell, they pull it, that's it, wasted time. But I said, okay, yeah, I'll look into it. And so they were saying that they needed to install some alteration of the technology. Well, I asked a couple people, have you ever talked to the department that owns the printer and prints the output? No. So I called them. I set up a time, and I went over to their building and discussed it with them. And I told them what we need. And I said, I don't understand why this is a problem. It was never a problem for the type of policy that was a larger, more complicated project. This involved a policy that was a universal life policy that has an investment component, and that's why some of the output was a little more complicated. And so they got to looking at everything, and they realized that there was a setting that was incorrect on the printer. And then after that, problem solved. It took just a few minutes walking to another building, which I really think was probably the impediment. People had gotten lazy and so used to conference rooms on their own floor that I don't think anybody wanted to walk to the other building. So, that's a good example of, you need to make sure that you know what the problem is. That is very key. And really, that goes back to communications. I'm not trying to stray from my presentations, but sometimes it is an example of how everything ties together. That is the key, for sure. Oh, whoops, I forgot to bring up a picture. Okay. Now, the business analysts, they're usually a domain expert, and they can secure questions quicker that way. BAs, you need to be skilled negotiators, and you have developed the relationships with the stakeholders. And as I said before, usually you're either domain experts or you have access to the subject matter experts. In my experience, throughout my life as a BA, I found that the BAs were really the people on the team who really made things happen. There's a quote, and if I remembered who said it, I would actually tell you, but I don't know. And it said that there are like 3 types of people. There are people who make things happen. There are people who just let things happen. And then there are people who wonder what happened. Now, I would hope, and most of the BAs I have met make things happen. I have also found that most BAs, and I'm trying to get over this, but most BAs are maniac workaholics. And so, that leads to some bad things, but it also, you're the ones on the team who are really pushing everybody else. And I was very blessed to work with like Scrum Masters and product owners who were more than happy to let us do it. And the BA, they're really a leader on a team also. And so did you ever try to reach stakeholders during a project and you needed an answer quickly? Now, this is where the same project team being dedicated to a certain department or area can be a better option. The BAs have an established relationship with the stakeholders and have worked to gain their respect and trust. They know how to communicate with the stakeholders. Some want an email and some want a phone call, and others, well, they want a face-to-face meeting. Now, the BA knows exactly how much detail that they need to communicate with the stakeholder. And, they know how to do it. Now, normally speaking, the higher up the stakeholder, the less details that he or she wants. If you're talking with a director, they just want the high level explanation. If talking to the end user, they want all the details. And so that's why by having BAs handle that they have access to the SMEs if they have questions. And the dedicated team supporting one area, usually you can develop where all team members should have a great relationship. But normally it's the BA who has an advantage because they're usually the go-to persons for the team. And I'm sure that many of you have experienced that same relationship or viewpoint. And a BA, well, they've got a great view of the business, such that other team members, such as developers, don't have. And I think it's because BAs are a good blend of detectives and lawyers who are skilled at digging for the details. You just have to do it maybe a little quicker in the Agile world than you did in the old waterfall world. And, BAs can achieve success even if they move from project to project to project because they can just, repeat their elicitation skills and by being skilled connectors and communicators, they will succeed. And they just have to be better at connecting with their stakeholders more quickly. And really what they need to do is just ask them what they want and how they want it. Some stakeholders will probably be shocked because maybe no one ever asked them that question before. And then they will realize how valuable that is. And, I feel that even makes them better at their skills because they need to connect so much more quickly. And with stakeholders, it's interesting because I worked on one project a few years before I retired, and we worked with a team that wasn't used to working with project teams. And we had a couple do-overs before we figured out how to deal with that. And the supervisor who needed to, approve everything, what I had to do with her is I would create something, a small document, or maybe just a new field on a page, and I would send it to her. And then I would ask her to call me when she was finished. And then I would have her to my desk. She was the type of person that needed to do both things in order to understand what we were saying. Even if I was just putting a new button on a already established page for a user interface. And that was all. And once we learned how to handle her, that was very key. And that's how you need to learn, because there are some upper management who maybe work their way up as a BA. And so they're used to looking at things in the weeds, and maybe they have more questions. There's also the case of where you have disagreeing stakeholders. And normally the stakeholders are all behind their project, but sometimes, the stakeholders are just like, 5-year-olds in kindergarten. And sometimes they have a personal vendetta with one another. And I refer to those stakeholders as stakeholders, because they will do anything to try to impede the project. Now, sometimes it is quite accidental, but sometimes it's a direct little dust up with a certain person. And as a BA, one of the things I did very well was to handle crucial conversations. You have to be very factual, very calm. And I would just get them in a room and, talk it out. And a lot of times I would ask the Scrum Master and the product owner to join me. And they're like, no, you can go handle those 2 vice presidents. And it was interesting because at the end of everything, they want the project to succeed, and everyone's just a person. It doesn't matter what their title is. And BAs are in a great position to be the leader of the team. And that is a segue into my next slide. Leadership is not about a position or a job title. Leaders encourage innovation and new ideas. And that is very key. You have your CEO, and they're pulled in so many different directions by many different groups, such as vendors, middle management, board of directors, stockholders, if it's a stock company. The list goes on and on. And it's a maybe not so well-known fact. As you advance higher in a company, you have much less control over your time. I always made it a point to become very good friends with the administrative assistants, because those are the people that get stuff done. And they'll get you appointments with people that you didn't think you could. And BAs, we're in a great position right in the middle, where we can really focus on things and lead things and take care of issues. And we should always be on the lookout for process improvements. And a lot of times those don't have to involve technology changes, as I said just a few minutes ago. And sometimes just by doing a discovery session or talking through an issue, maybe we can just suggest a process change. It doesn't even have to be anything fancy. Everybody's all, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Well, I started at my company before there was cubicles, computers, or carpet. So, I was used to not using a whole lot of things to get the job done. But as I explained in my previous sample, the stakeholders, they thought they had, one problem, but it was a total different problem that was solved so much simpler. And because we are like detectives or lawyers, we can ask a lot of questions to help people talk about things and get to the bottom line of what the problem is. Now, because we are so good at doing that, and because we don't have off buttons, I don't necessarily recommend that you use this skill on your family or your non-BA friends. I very frequently at my house hear the 2 comments about, don't be going all BA on me, And why are you analyzing this so much? And it just, what can I say? If I'm, up and conscious, I'm probably going to be talking that way. Now, this picture on the slide, I purposely use this picture because really, this lady needs to leave her box. BAs are good about thinking outside the box, and really we should just not even have boxes, because we always should be encouraging innovations and new ideas, which is just part of being a good leader. Now, there's one phrase that always made me just cringe in corporate America, and it was TWWHADI, the way we have always done it. Now, that just, you can always think of a workaround or how to make a process better, even one that was a compliance issue. And trust me, there are few organizations that are more heavily regulated than insurance, maybe the government, but that's a whole different story. And so, as I talk about the BA asking so many questions, though, you need to make sure you ask the right questions and encourage the people around you to think outside that box. And I don't know of many product owners with that knowledge and experience. Now, maybe if former BAs have been successful at becoming a product owner, I'll leave that open. But this is just my little different point of view about why the business analyst is so important at doing these things as opposed to a product owner. Maybe
Judy,
if they have a pardon?
May I inject just a quick, you mentioned an image, but we don't see it on the screen.
Oh, I am so sorry. That is exactly what I frequently do. Thank you very much. Now you probably understand what I was talking about. I apologize for that. And please always speak up if you're in a presentation of mine and I accidentally do this. I am so sorry. I hope it all still made sense. And so that leads me to one of the last things that I want to talk about. And this is this maybe isn't directly related to the business analyst being on an Agile team, but I do feel that it's important. And you could apply this to life, or you could apply it to your career, probably both. We're in our comfort zone and we're all safe and happy, but we really don't need to stay there. You honestly need to never stop learning. And the comfort zone should always just be a pit stop, not a destination. That's very important, because you can't be too comfortable or you'll stop thinking. And if you really don't stop learning and thinking and always innovating, you may as well stop living, because you really have, what is going to stimulate you. And so then you get into the fear zone. Maybe you apply for that job or change things up a little, and you're going to have some lack of self-confidence, and maybe you'll try to find some excuses, and you're affected by others' opinions, but that's not going to last long, or it shouldn't, because then you jump into the learning zone and you're going to deal with challenges and problems and acquire new skills. And if you look at this picture, you've extended your comfort zone. Okay, that's fine. But once again, you don't want to stay there too long. And what you need to do is get to your growth zone, and you need to find purpose. And you have dreams, live your dreams. We only have one life. If you don't do it now, it's not going to happen. And set new goals and conquer objectives. We all know that regardless of the industry and whatever we're doing, how we're doing it, Agile, Kanban, waterfall, it takes a while to become comfortable as a BA. And I remember training and mentoring a lot of new BAs, and they were always in such a hurry to move along and do this and do that. And I wanted them to grasp the concepts a little better before you just let them run. Because sometimes if you just let them run, they develop bad habits and don't do things. But it always seems so overwhelming when you start a new position. And especially if you're at a new company, you're not only learning their system and products and things, but and if you're a new BA, you're also learning how to be a BA. So I can understand that. But I've always felt that this graph really does represent your life and your occupation. And I do feel that it's really better to be a unicorn versus a donkey. Now, life is not going to all be, lollipops and roses. There's going to be the up and downs, but I think the calmer, the more fun you can have, you can live through all that very well. Because I don't know of two occupations that are more stress driven and you can pop on that roller coaster of emotions that you need to stay off of than real estate or working on projects. And this graph represents one more thing too. It represents how an agile team changes as you go through forming, storming, norming, and performing. And I believe they did add a fifth stage, which is adjourning or mourning. Now, our teams didn't, they stayed pretty stable, so we didn't get to that stage. But if you've been on an agile team, you know how those stages are so necessary and how things can be kind of frustrating as you're maybe going through them again based on new people. I would love to keep in touch with you. I could talk about business analysis forever, but please, go ahead and I'm on LinkedIn probably the most frequently, but I am other places, and I have started a LinkedIn live show called the Optimistic Bites, which is just getting started. And I have a YouTube channel, but it needs some work. So this is it for the presentation. And what are the questions? Let's see here. We got the chat. It looks like there's probably a few things in here.
So Jay says, thanks, Judy. Teresa says,
Yep,
great
Jay's
job.
one of my
and
buddies.
thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Let's see here. Well, they seem happy. Sometimes when there's not a lot of comments, you never know what that means. That's what I'm never sure of. But yes, I did notice some of my old buddies out there. And of course, I do know the Mr. Cybersecurity BA very well, Terry. But is anybody who's on here coming to BBC?
I do have a question from Tim. What are the things
okay.
you think that the product owners do better than the BAs?
Do better. Wow. Well, I think context is everything. So I'm not exactly sure what he meant by that, but possibly, I don't know if he's meaning their job or would they be better BAs? It looks like there's something else that popped up in the chat. Did he clarify for me?
No, there's two other questions or one other question.
Okay.
So
Tim,
you want the next one?
Let me answer the next question. And then Tim, if you could kind of clarify for me what exactly you're asking, then I'd be happy to answer it because I might answer it just totally with some left field answer.
All right, Kia, Judy, you said that in the next 5 to 10 years, the title will change for business analyst. What do you think the title will change to?
Well, I don't know that I have a big answer, and I don't think it will ever disappear. But if you went out to Google and you Googled business analyst and found other titles for it, and I recently had to do that for a member of my website team, and there was about 113 answers. So I think I kind of overwhelmed this person because he was at the point where he had just joined the team. And so I had to teach him about business analysis. And, I'm sure he thought there would be like, 10 or 15 answers maybe, but I don't have a crystal ball. Who knows? I'm okay with business analyst, but I don't know that sometimes the title adequately describes what a person does, because I know at my company, when they did some reorganization of the salary families, we had probably about 300 people who had the title business analyst or senior business analyst in our company. And wow, I think they gave it to some financial people because they didn't know how to describe their job. And I do feel that when somebody says you're a business analyst, what do you do? Well, we've got like 70 people on this presentation. We could have 100 or more flavors of what you do. I always did what I would refer to as pure project work. But many BAs and I will get together and we'll just be talking. And I don't know that any of us have adequately developed an actual 5-minute elevator speech that helps people understand. There has been a discussion in the industry. Fabricio Laguna, known as the Brazilian BA, has a theory about how business analysis is more of a mindset. He has a wonderful YouTube channel, and he has very good command of the English language. So check him out and check out, his LinkedIn page, because it's very interesting, the discussions that come up. I honestly don't know that I have a crystal ball of what is going on. I don't. I know that there will be change, but I don't know what it will become.
I think it is a broad term, and I think sometimes it depends on the organization. One organization's BA is a little different than another organization's BA.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim did clarify his question. So he said relative skills between product owners and BAs.
I think sometimes a lot of them do have the same skills. They do have the same knowledge. And I think that may vary from company to company as to how well it works. But if the person isn't a former BA, I feel they are really missing a lot of the business knowledge on what happens. And there probably are some BAs out there who have become great product owners. I personally never wanted to do that. At my organization, there were too many meetings, and I really always liked staying down in the weeds and making things happen with the projects and things. And I enjoyed dealing with the stakeholders. And that's a personal choice. And it may vary from company to company. But I do know that some of the companies that have done away with the BA title, and then they somehow managed to do away with anybody who can do business analysis, and they realize they have a problem. No project will succeed without that.
When I always think of like the BA and the product owner, I always kind of think of the BA as the person between IT and business. So a lot of times they sit in IT. So IT will talk to the BA, and then the BA will develop the relationship with business. when I think of product owner, and I really haven't even been at a place with a formal product owner, but it's almost like it comes from business, it sits in business, and then it acts directly with IT. So that's kind of how I see a difference. I could be completely wrong, but that's just my
No,
understanding of it.
and I've kind of experienced both situations, but when we got to the scaled agile, we were then on a combined team with the developers in the IT. But really what I didn't change so much, but I was very blessed with developers who wanted to know about the business. And I knew the system that the products came out of well enough to just expand my knowledge of the code. And I think if you can have those two working together, that's great. But a lot of times, yes, the BA is who relates better to the stakeholders.
Very good. Mina says, thanks very much, Judy. Very informative. Love the last picture.
I do too.
Mickey, I'm on the fence about BBC. Do you want to talk a little bit about BBC? I'm not sure everybody knows what that is.
Building business capability it's actually the official conference of IIBA, but it is run by Rising Media. And it's a gathering of people from all over the world. And they're not necessarily all BAs or all project managers, but it's a week-long conference. The first 2 days are the tutorials. And those are like, I think they're 3 hours. And so there's one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And you mainly have practitioners in those sessions. And then BBC itself, the conference is a 2.5-day conference. And so it will start, and there will be then the more symposium type sessions like what we're doing here today. Sometimes there will be panels, there might be a spotlight presentation, but the knowledge that you can get from attending BBC and the networking that you can develop, and also the fun you can have is just priceless. And I actually I sat on a webinar just a couple weeks ago on why you should attend BBC. And I cannot stress enough how important it is. There are two things that I cannot stress enough in my personal situation. If I had not joined IIBA, I wouldn't have been half the BA I am. I would not have had half the opportunities I've had, but also attending BBC has been priceless. I have made some long time life friends in that. And if you want to talk about BBC, definitely reach out to me, because that's something else I'll talk your ear off of for a while. And this year it's being held in Fort Lauderdale in Hollywood, Florida, which is a suburb of Fort Lauderdale. And it is my favorite destination for BBC.
And the Underhills come from Hollywood, Florida.
Uh-oh, now I know I'm in trouble.
Yes, that's where they come from. That's where the Miami Dolphins come from, y'all.
That's right. Huge Dolphins fan. And no, I do not spend the time on the beach. I am off networking, chatting, doing everything. It is an exhausting week, though, not for the faint of heart.
Which city did you say that was?
Hollywood.
Hollywood, Florida?
It's a suburb of Fort Lauderdale.
It's old. Okay. It's very, very old, Victoria. It's like really old school.
Well, I'm kind of old, so that works.
Yeah, you love it.
But I know both Terry Barish and I believe Roberta said she was speaking. There might be more of you on here who are speaking, and I am speaking. So come join us. And if you see me, stop me. We all have name tags on. So.
It is a lot of fun, I can tell you. I when you guys had it in Orlando in 2017, I said, yes. All right, I'll go volunteer, because that way you get in for free. And I ran into so many people that I've known over the years.
Oh, yes.
So you just never know. You never know who you run into, for sure.
Yes. that's actually the last place I went to a huge in-person conference was BBC 2019 in Hollywood. So, and then the world shut down. So, well, I am at time. So,
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much, Judy.